Weather here in Gauteng is what everybody is talking about. We're just a few weeks into spring, but already parts of the country are in the grip of a heat wave.
In Gauteng, the northwest, Limpopo and Mpumalanga, temperatures are soaring into the mid-30s and approaching 40 degrees.
Well, the hot weather does pose a number of health risks. And to discuss ways to beat the heat, we're joined this morning by ER24's Russel Meiring. Russel, very good morning to you.
Morning to you.
Thanks for coming in this morning. Now, with the heat wave and the temperatures we're already feeling, we understand it's going to get worse by tomorrow. It's going to peak by tomorrow. What are the things we actually need to be wary of in this kind of weather?
Well, absolutely. As you said, we are going to see some very high temperatures, up into the 40s. So a lot of the people that are going to be affected, especially, are people that are working outside. So your construction workers, people that generally spend most of their day outside. And this can happen very, very quickly. You think, okay, even if you wear suntan lotion or big brimmed hat, one thing people always need to take into consideration is staying hydrated during all of this. Generally, you should be drinking about 2 liters of water a day. In these hot temperatures where we saw yesterday up to 31, you should be drinking more than that just to stay hydrated, help fight off these heat injuries.
You mentioned construction workers. Who else is at risk?
Anyone that spends a large amount of their day outside, especially during the peak hours between 11 and 1. We find that those are the best times where it will be the most warmest. So construction workers, your emergency services that generally work outside during the day, anything like that.
And of course, we have to be especially careful when it comes to the elderly and young children.
Absolutely.
When sitting in classes also.
Absolutely. We generally find your elderly and your children are more affected. Their bodies don't work as efficiently. So they are very susceptible to all your heat-related injuries. I mean, one of the first ones you would see is your heat cramps, which are most common in children but can happen to anyone. Next is your heat exhaustion, and then your heat stroke, which can be obviously fatal.
So the best thing to do also wouldn't be, Russell, that if you don't have to go outside, you don't have to go anywhere, stay indoors?
Rather stay indoors. If you do have to go outside, rather don't go between your peak hours of 11 and 1. If you are going to go outside, make sure you wear a long sleeve jersey or shirts just to protect yourself from the sun, suntan lotion, large hat, and remember, stay hydrated. So water preferably. Otherwise, you can also do any drinks that replace your electrolytes and your mineral salts and things like that.
Now, Russell, I'm always looking for an excuse why I shouldn't exercise. Would exercise be advisable today, even if it's indoors?
As long as it's not during your peak. Exercise is best for everyone. I know.
After 1 o'clock, if you want to walk.
After 1 o'clock or early in the morning when the temperatures are still cool. But it is advisable always to do your exercise.
Yeah, I know we're focusing on human beings, but there's also a question about animals. Many of our viewers got animals and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Also, I think it's the same kind of approach. Make sure that they're in the shade if you've got animals of any sort.
Absolutely.
Your pets, and make sure they've got water.
Make sure that your pets aren't outside during this time. If they are, make sure that there is a shaded area and plenty of water for them to drink. It is very hard for an animal to tell us that, hey, listen, I'm suffering from heat exhaustion or heat stroke.
Yeah, now you mentioned heat stroke now currently. What are the signs? What should you look at? How do you know that, oops, I'm getting into some trouble now?
Well, one of the first is your heat exhaustion, where you're going to see profuse sweating, lethargy, just severe headache and things like that. And this is obviously your body warning you that it is getting to a very serious condition. One of the first ways to treat this is remove the patient from that environment and gradually cool them. Your heat stroke is now more your fatal one, where there is little to no sweating because your body is very dehydrated. So immediately remove your patient from this environment. If it's strenuous exercise or sporting, remove them and immediately start rehydrating and get emergency care immediately, because this can be life-threatening.
Okay, so I think I'm feeling I think I have heat stroke.
You'll get some water.
I think I really have some, yeah.
Better relax.
I think I need a popsicle or something. It's good popsicle weather.
By the way, just before you go, Russell, there's no amount of water like it's too little when there's too much heat wave. Stay hydrated as much as possible.
At least 2 liters of water a day with your energy drinks that may have your electrolytes and things like that.
But not too many sugary things.
No,
also,
not too many sugary drinks.
We tend to reach for those fizzy, sugary drinks also,
Absolutely.
and that will actually make it worse.
Water is the best one.
I was thinking about ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah, ice creams are good.
Water. No. Russell says water. Stick to water.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's Russel Meiring from ER24 with some sound, common sense advice as we are going to be grappling with a heat wave.